Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show, sponsored by Anti-Fragile Brewing Company. They have the best cheesesteaks and beer around State College, so make sure you guys go check them out downtown State College. Yesterday was Big Ten Media Day, and for the first time ever, out in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is normally in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium where we play the Big Ten championship game. And Coach Franklin actually went on a little bit of a rant about it, saying it's hard for a lot of the Penn State beat to get all the way out to Las Vegas. It's far. It's a lot more expensive to go to Las Vegas than it is to go to Indianapolis. And he also said, look, like the SEC does a great job with their promotion. He kind of went after, I don't really know who's the Big Ten was putting it on and was like, hey, look, number one, we don't have that much fandom. How many Big Ten fans? I mean, I know we can, you can include USC and some of those, UCLA that joined recently, but how many Big Ten fans are really out in Las Vegas? Not that many. So he even noted that, hey, when we were at Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, it was constant people coming up to our guys for autographs. He's like, it's not the same here. It doesn't have the vibe that we are really here for the Big Ten. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, the Big Ten's doing media day out here, which, like I said, I think that was a good point. But I'm sure whoever got to go out to Las Vegas was very happy that actually that made it out there. I'm sure they had a very good time after that all wrapped up and went out, all that good stuff. I went through and watched every single minute last night of every piece of interview that our three guys did. We had Zakie Wheatley, Drew Adler, and Nick Dawkins, and then obviously Coach Franklin was there. Shout out to the Cover 3 podcast, the guys over at CBS Sports. Most of these clips are going to be from their sit-downs with the guys. They killed it. Great job out in Vegas by them. First clip I want to look at, Franklin was asked about the offense going into year two with Kotelnicki. Roll the clip.
We're just so much further ahead and so much more aggressive in what we did during spring ball installs. It's obviously you got to build it from the ground up, but we're able to get to trigonometry so much faster, right? Same thing now with the summer OTAs, that you're able to do so much further along. Day one install a training camp.
Now, having been someone who has been in an offense with James Franklin where we had a new offensive coordinator and then also going into year two, I know exactly what it is like. So when you are going into year one, you were installing, the new guy gets there in January, you're installing in spring ball and you're really learning that new offense. And then you go to the summer and you have OTAs. That's kind of a newer thing that was introduced in 2022 where you're allowed to get like 3-4 hours of team activities a week in the summer where you can get together, you can have a football, because before there was like dumb rules where you could get together, but you couldn't get together with a football. So now you're actually able to get together and you can have the offense on one side of the field, the defense on the other, and you're running plays, you're working those new plays, you're getting a feel for it, going through the steps that you need to work. So that was a big addition, and Franklin talked about loving having that. But so when it's year one of that new offense or defense, when you go to the summer or you go to fall camp, you're going to go back to that first install that you did in spring ball because you want to hammer that home because no one's played in this offense yet or this defense yet when you were in year one. So now the difference is in year two, you do that initial install. You still do install 1, 2, and 3 is basically what we call it in the spring. But now when you go to the summer in year two, instead of doing install 1, 2, and 3 again, now you can go to install 4, 5, and 6. So that's the ability to kind of add that complexity to that side of the ball now, and just be able to feel more confident. Hey, we've already been through this. We know our base stuff. We ran it all last year. Now let's add that extra level, those little intricacies to a couple different plays to mess with that defense or mess with that offense. So I expect this offense to take a big step forward in 2025. I mean, there's no reason not to. You have the best offensive line in college football. I think you have the best running back duo. You have Drew Adler, who is on Heisman watch, and you have 3 new wide receivers, a group of young guys that's unproven, but it still should be a lot better. And then obviously I think the tight ends, we know what we are going to get out of them. All right, next up, we have 2 quotes about Zariah Fischer, who has to show up for this defense in 2025. Roll the clips.
There's some guys that no one's talking about. Zariah Fischer. Zariah was going to play a big role for us last year, had a season-ending injury, missed the season. No one's talking about him. There's a lot of excitement in our building about Zariah being on the opposite side of deny, right?
People do not talk about Zariah Fischer enough. He is an animal, and he has a bag that is versatile. I mean, there's one thing when you have a speed rusher. There's another thing when you have a power rusher. When you have a speed with a combination of power like Zariah has, he can go inside on you. He has a great bull rush, and then he can get outside, and he's great with his hands. So that's somebody to really be, if you're going to try Keon deny, cool, you're going to get killed by Fish too.
So people are clearly excited about Zariah Fischer and what he brings to the table to this defense in 2025. And look, we need him. Zariah Fischer has to show up. There's no question about it, because it was kind of like, hey, Max Granville might take over and could be that guy across from Deni Dennis Sutton. But you heard Coach Franklin. He admitted it's going to be Zariah Fischer. We know that now because Max Granville is obviously out for the year. I think Nick Dawkins did a great job. By the way, Nick Dawkins killed it at Media Day. If you want to kind of get more info than just what I'm giving you here, go watch any of his interviews. He was dropping quotes, as he always does. If you've seen him on my channel, you know he is straight comedy, but this guy just is a walking motivational video. So make sure you watch his clips. But he did a good job breaking down what makes Zariah Fischer such a good edge rusher, where it's not just a one-trick pony where maybe his get-off is really good or he's just kind of a bigger guy. But Zariah Fischer can do it all. Now, not do it all at a superstar level, especially because he's been so hurt, but he can do those little things. If he is actually a pretty good bull rusher, he does have a really good inside move. I went against him plenty of times. He really has a good job of being able to get hands on you and kind of feel your weight as an offensive lineman and say, all right, I'm going to pull you this way. I'm going to work this move because I can feel your weight starting to kind of transition and shift one way or the other. So that was one thing I always thought Fischer, it was hard to go against him because he was so detailed and really was good at everything. So he's going to have to make a big stride in 2025 and obviously stay healthy. Be on the lookout in the next probably week or so. I am doing a Zariah Fischer film breakdown. Most of the film is obviously from the 2023 season. So hopefully it's a little bit better. But at the same time, I'm going to show you a little glimpse of what makes him a great edge rusher and then a couple things that he also needs to work on this year and this fall camp. Franklin was asked about how much blame should Drew Aller shoulder for what happened last year in the passing game. Roll the clip.
We have not had that receiver that everybody is scared about. I see stuff on TV. You guys see the same thing. And a quarterback throws the ball up in double coverage, and a receiver goes up and snatches it in double coverage. And they're like, what a throw. And it was an awful throw, right? But the receiver made a hell of a play for him. We had Tyler Warren doing those things. And I love our receivers, but we weren't getting that consistently from a receiver last year.
All right, in a very professional way, Franklin basically said that, yeah, Drew has to take some of that blame on for what happened because he is the quarterback, but the wide receivers were not good, which I can agree with him on that. And, I can be a little bit more matter of fact just because Franklin has to be professional and, he doesn't want to disrespect anybody. But like Franklin said, Aller had no guys that he could trust, that, hey, I'm going to go give you a 50-50 ball and go make a play for me. We all know he had Tyler Warren, but as dynamic as Tyler Warren was, he was a big tight end that would, run like a 4.7. You need someone who can actually separate and threaten downfield, and that's what Drew Aller didn't have, and it really felt like it limited the offense. So that's why they went out, got 3 new guys, revamped that wide receiver room, and then obviously you got a couple young guys who seems like Drew Aller and company are excited about. Speaking of that, we got a clip of Drew Aller talking about a young wide receiver. Roll the clip.
Also, we have some young guys that just enrolled, like Kobe Howard, who is going to be a real playmaker for us. I think he's going to play at some point this year. And really all the guys that we brought in the last 2 years in that recruiting classes have been phenomenal. And I'm really excited to see their development, not only this year, but in the future.
And when Drew Aller said that we will see Kobe Howard play this year, I don't think he meant we're going to see him, against Villanova or FIU. I think that's a given. When Drew Aller said that, I think he meant we're going to see meaningful snaps from Kobe Howard in 2025. He is probably the shiftiest wide receiver on this roster. Now, a true freshman at that, so he needs time to develop. But if there is a place for a true freshman to be able to excel at, I'd say wide receiver might be one of the easiest because there's not that physicality really. There is anytime you're going from high school to college, there is a physicality difference, but it's not as much as, say, an offensive lineman where that's what the entire game is physicality. At a wide receiver, if you're shifty and you're fast, if you're 18 years old, yeah, you're going to be a little raw, but if you can still bring that next explosive level to this offense and be a spark plug, I think you're going to see a little bit of time. So I don't know exactly where Kobe Howard would fit in. I don't know if he's more of kind of a slot guy, where he's going to move around, but that's a speedy young guy that I think could be one of the key parts of the future of this wide receiver room. And clearly Drew Aller is a fan of his game. So last clip I want to show Drew Aller talking about getting to sit in meetings with Jim Knowles and really learn from him. Roll the clip.
Definitely had those opportunities, and the one thing that Coach Franklin does is have cross-ball meetings where like defense will be lifting, offense will be meeting, and we'll have defensive coaches sitting in our meetings. So Coach Knowles was in our meetings a lot just because of the position we play, but being able to hear him talk about football and kind of see it from a different perspective, because I've never played defense at that level. So I understand defenses, but I don't understand why. I'm starting to understand why they call certain things, why they're in certain coverages and fronts and that sort of thing. So hearing him talk about it has been really good for my knowledge.
I love that Franklin does this stuff, and I can hear Franklin. I mean, he even said it on the clip. This is very incredible stuff, guys. This is very valuable. But it really is. I can just see it like that. That's anytime you can get work with like the other team or anything like that. That's like always, he loves talking about how valuable things are. And they are. Like when you can find little ways to help your players out, it's incredible that, the best defensive coordinator that you went against last year, that, let's be honest, partially because we couldn't pass the ball, but Jim Knowles, to a degree, stuffed us in a locker when we played Ohio State. Now, there were, Trey Wallace not catching that ball. It was a great ball from Drew Aller. It was a freak interception, and great job from the Ohio State DB. Jim Knowles stuffed us 4 times in a row on the goal line. But, for me, if I'm Drew Aller, that's fantastic. I am able to go in and hear, okay, how was I game planned against? What were these defensive coordinators doing to mess with my head? What did they see on tape that I really struggled with? And now I'm actually getting to hear it from that guy, and not only just hear it, but go through that entire game again. And Drew Aller said that they got to go through that entire Ohio State game again and walk through each play of what Jim Knowles was thinking. And Drew Aller can be there with a pen and a paper and just really learn from him. So I think that's big. Getting that perspective is always really helpful when you're in a situation like Aller. You have all this outside noise, and you're able to get good feedback from someone that really matters. And like I said, someone that gave us some problems last year. All right, that wraps it up. I felt like that, for the most part, was all the important things. There was other, like I said, fun, good things that if you want to go watch those videos, like I said, the Cover 3 guys did a great job. All of Nick Dawkins' podcasts are absolute gold. He was dropping gems for everybody. I thought for Coach Franklin did a couple things. I'm not going to roll the clips, but he talked about having maybe 10 to 12 players he feels like could be drafted in 2026 from this roster, which is a really big number. He referenced that after the Big Ten championship, they only had one guy drafted, and that was Chris Godwin. So talking about the development aspect of Penn State and how much better we're doing at sending guys to the NFL. Franklin also referenced having, I believe it's like 19 lettermen on the staff at Penn State. I think that's huge because they were in our shoes. They are some of the only people that know what we went through as players. So when you're able to kind of lean on that as coaches, as academic advisors, as player personnel, all that type of stuff, that's valuable to a program. So shout out to Coach Franklin for making that an emphasis. And then the biggest one that I'm sure you've already seen, so I don't need to play it. Coach Franklin said that he's never felt like he has had a more talented all-around group of coaches, players, everything put together. He's got, the superstars. He's got the veteran leadership. So basically, without saying it, he said, yeah, this year is the year. And if not now, when? That has been the question this entire time. If not now, when? It is 2025. It is the year to win it all. Penn State has it all in front of them. Now let's go get it. So camp is starting here shortly. I'm excited to get into it. We are going to be pumping out videos from here on out, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, stay up to date on everything. Please like, comment, subscribe. Peace.